Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into a really monumental shift happening right now in the financial sector. For the past decade or so, artificial intelligence has basically been the world's smartest intern, right? Giving advice, scoring risks, maybe flagging some anomalies, but humans always pulled the trigger. Well, that boundary is completely dissolving. We're moving fast into an era where AI agents are actually pulling the financial trigger themselves. To understand exactly how the industry plans to keep this safe, we're going to walk through this explainer on the BuildFin.ai SAFR white paper, which stands for Safeguards for Agentic Finance at Runtime. Let's get into it.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at AI agents in finance, then the governance gap, followed by Enter SAFR runtime controls. After that, we'll cover the governance envelope, how SAFR evaluates actions, and finally, securing the financial future.
Okay, Section 1, AI agents in finance, the shift to autonomy.
So look at the stark contrast between where we were and where we're actually going. In the traditional AI world, the system basically provided decision support. It might recommend a stock trade or flag a weird transaction, but a human always reviewed it before any real-world action happened. Now flip over to Agentic AI. These new systems, they're capable of pursuing specified objectives on their own. They plan intermediate steps, they select tools, and they initiate actions completely autonomously. We're talking about AI executing payments, submitting trading orders, settling insurance claims, literally while you're still pouring your morning coffee. And it's all happening at the machine speed and scale without any continuous human direction.
Naturally, doing this in the financial sector dramatically raises the stakes. We aren't just talking about an AI writing a bad email here. These actions have immediate, real-world legal and economic consequences, and honestly, they're notoriously difficult to reverse. The Financial Stability Board has actually raised a massive red flag about this, noting that correlated AI model behavior across institutions is a potential source of systemic vulnerability. Think about it. If multiple institutions deploy similar models, and those models start behaving in correlated ways under market stress, a single error could trigger a dangerous system-wide crisis. It's like a machine-speed flash crash, but driven entirely by autonomous agents that are all reacting to the exact same flawed data at the exact same time. Wild, right?
Which brings us to Section 2, the governance gap, why old rules fail.
So think about this really critical question for a second. How do you actually govern a system acting at machine speed? Our traditional risk management frameworks were built entirely for human decision-making. They rely heavily on pre-deployment validation, or maybe retrospective audits where we, check a sample of transactions hours or even days later. But at the sheer volume and speed of agentic AI, traditional per-action human oversight is just operationally impossible.
And that leaves us with three pretty fatal governance gaps. First up is the absolute absence of pre-execution assurance. Honestly, by the time you check the audit log, the money's already gone. Second, there's no consistent human-agent interface. Sure, you might get a dashboard flag, but there's no standard for what actually needs to be decided or when. And third, widespread fragmentation. Institutions are out there building their own guardrails completely independently, which means they aren't interoperable at all. Just imagine a misconfigured data feed hitting an autonomous system. It could trigger a cascade of unauthorized multi-million-dollar actions across multiple agents before a human even has a chance to blink.
All right, Section 3, Enter SAFR runtime controls.
SAFR stands for Safeguards for Agentic Finance at Runtime. You can kind of think of it as an unpassable border control checkpoint that lives right between the AI's brain and the real world. It's essentially an industry reference approach created by experts to enforce authority and carefully calibrate human involvement at the exact point of every single agent decision.
Check out exactly where SAFR lives in the tech stack. Right at the top, you have the AI agent. Now sure, that agent might have some built-in guardrails and content filters to stop harmful outputs, but those don't actually determine if a financial action is authorized. That's exactly why SAFR sits right in that middle layer. It catches the proposal right after those content filters do their thing, but crucially, before the action hits the actual financial rails at the bottom. Literally, no action gets to the settlement layer without passing through SAFR first.
Moving on to Section 4, the governance envelope, packaging intent.
So an AI can't just send a raw command to buy a stock or transfer a bunch of funds. Before any action can actually be executed, it has to be packaged into what's called a governance envelope. This is a highly structured package that captures exactly what the agent intends to do, why it intends to do it, and the specific evidence that supports that decision.
Opening up this envelope, you'll find three critical things.
First, the action details, meaning what exactly is it trying to do? What are the parameters? Second, context metadata. This covers things like the agent-specific identity and its current active mandates. But third, and honestly most importantly, it captures the action trace. This is the exact step-by-step record of how the agent arrived at this decision, including every tool it used and the exact data it retrieved. By securely capturing this trace, the envelope basically becomes a tamper-evident governance artifact. It ensures we aren't just blindly trusting some sophisticated adversarial injection, we're treating the envelope as a secure document that absolutely must be authenticated.
Okay, Section 5. How SAFR evaluates actions. Once that envelope is sealed and handed over, every single action has to pass through 4 core runtime components: agent identity, the controls repository, the disposition engine, and the audit log. Working together, these 4 pillars ensure absolutely no autonomous action reaches execution without being explicitly declared and fully authorized. Let's walk through this exact sequence. Step 1. Verify agent identity. SAFR actively checks the registry to make sure the agent is exactly who it claims to be. If it fails, it's rejected instantly. Step 2. Consult the controls repository. This is basically the institution's master rulebook, holding all the regulatory requirements, exposure limits, and specific user mandates. Step 3. Run the disposition engine. This is where the magic happens. SAFR compares the proposed action against all those rules in mere milliseconds to figure out what happens next. And finally, Step 4. Record absolutely everything in a completely immutable audit log. When that disposition engine makes its decision, it's going to output one of 4 strictly deterministic outcomes. It can deny the action outright if it violates a hard constraint, no go. It can escalate the action, essentially pausing it for human review if it's technically within scope but just too risky for autonomous execution. It can auto-execute if everything looks totally safe and perfectly within thresholds, or, interestingly enough, it can observe, which means it allows the action to go through but flags it for subsequent monitoring because it noticed something a little anomalous. This is how SAFR intelligently calibrates exactly when a human needs to step in.
And it's super important to note that these outcome thresholds, they aren't just random. They are strictly calibrated at design time based on really severe risk factors. Is the proposed action reversible? What is the financial materiality? Like, what's the actual monetary value at stake here? And will it severely impact the customer if an error somehow occurs? Higher risk profiles automatically shift the system toward denying or escalating the action, which brilliantly keeps the ultimate control right in human hands.
Which brings us to our final section. Section 6, Securing the Financial Future. Let's look at the big picture here. This is the complete, unbroken life cycle of an agentic action. Starting from the AI proposing the action, packaging its intent into that secure envelope, passing the identity check, going straight through the rules check, into the disposition engine, and finally outputting that clear stamp of approval, rejection, or review. But notice the dotted lines running along the bottom? Literally everything feeds back into that single audit log. It is a completely unbroken chain of accountability. 0 actions happen in the dark anymore. We get an immutable, highly authoritative record that doesn't rely at all on the AI's own memory of the events. So I want to leave you with this thought. If autonomous agents are going to execute our trades, manage our liquidity, and process our payments at machine speed, how do we ensure humans remain the ultimate authors of our financial future? Frameworks like SAFR prove we really don't have to choose between cutting-edge automation and absolute accountability. By governing at the exact, precise moment of action, we can safely embrace the machine speed economy. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer today, and I'll catch you on the next one.